So now let's look at another service, Redshift. So Redshift is AWS's solution for data warehousing. And it can be very tricky when it comes to working with Redshift, because Redshift is one of the services where the cost is directly related to the performance of your workload. So usually optimizing your cluster in terms of table design, schema design, putting in place all the best practices of performance will actually lead to some cost savings. Because let's say that you have a cluster with nodes, and then you work on your schema design, the table design, on your sort keys and distribution style. Maybe after all these optimizations, your cluster will actually be as efficient with 3 nodes than it was with 40. So you would actually be getting, we will get rid of one of the nodes, which will lead to cost optimization. Also support pause and resume feature, which will basically pause all the compute cost. So you will only be paying for the storage, but the compute part will be paused. And you can automate this if you want, also using EventBridge, for example, with Lambda. Data tiering is also possible using Redshift Spectrum, which is a feature that allows you to query data directly in S3 without having to load it into the cluster itself. So this is very useful for historical and old data that you don't need to query very often. So basically you keep them in S3 and then use Spectrum query it. And Spectrum is fully serverless. It means that if you are not running queries using Spectrum, you don't pay anything. You only pay for the S3 storage. The pricing for Spectrum is based on the size of the data that you scan. So it's very not expensive. It's around $5 for every terabyte data scanned in most of AWS region. So if you can offload some of the data that you have in the cluster and put it in S3 and then use Spectrum to query it, it can help you, let's say, maybe reduce the number of nodes in the cluster, which will lead to less cost overall. Also, Redshift has a feature called concurrency scanning, which will actually dynamically add capacity to your cluster to handle any peak offload. So this feature comes with a good option because like Redshift actually gives you 1 hour of free concurrency scanning capacity every 24 hours of your cluster. So this is not very known, but you can actually set some limits in the configuration of concurrency scanning, and to say that I don't want to exceed 1 hour of concurrency scanning per day. And using that, you will be actually having this 1 hour usage of concurrency scanning without ever paying the extra capacity. So this is a credit that you have, but if you don't enable it, you are not actually benefiting from this. Also, Redshift Advisor actually provides a lot of recommendation and suggestions regarding performance and cost optimization that are specifically related to your cluster. So it will give you recommendations like, for example, this table is missing sort key, this table is not very well partitioned, and so on. So make sure to check out regularly these suggestions and apply them accordingly. And same thing, right sizing and reservations are always good ways to optimize cost. So you want to make sure to watch all your metrics, make sure that the node types are right-sized. And if you have steady workloads, reservations can be also an option.